So if you just start by telling me who you are and what you do.
My name is Jeremy Hillman, and I run the BBC Economics and Business Unit, which also covers technology and transport. And I'm here because of a very exciting project we're doing called BBC Box, which is a project to follow a shipping container around the world for a whole year to tell the story of the global economy. And we've bolted on a satellite transmitter so that people can track it online all year. And it's excited a lot of interest around the world, especially from kids and young people. And the reason I'm here is because I want to ask all these good people here to design a flash game to go on the website, on the BBC Box website, so that people can come to the website and have a bit of fun with it.
That's so exciting.
It's great.
Has anyone like voted against the box and said you should be spending your money on other things?
Well, do you know what? We are not spending very much BBC money on it because it's a real box and it's owned by the shipping company called NYK. So all we pay for is the branding and the painting and then just the coverage, the news coverage around it. But we're not paying for the box because it's a real box. It's taking real goods around the world and earning its own keep.
And what's your hope? Are you going to what are you hoping to learn? People can learn from this. Or?
Well, the idea is to try and tell the story about how the global economy works, how globalization works, how international trade works, in a way that people can get excited about, they can understand, they can learn about, and to do it over the course of a whole year. And it's an incredibly interesting time to be telling that story because you know what's happening in the wider global economy, and it's just a fantastic project and a great device to tell some of the stories about what's happening right now.
I agree. And are you a bit of a geek yourself? Is this an online project?
I am a bit of a geek myself. It was designed as a sort of multi-platform project. That's the sort of buzzword at the BBC, and I think so it could really appeal to radio listeners, to TV viewers. Also have a really good online presence, and actually we've been really surprised by how many people have come to the project and all the things it's spawned. And there's been dedicated websites set up, non-BBC ones to follow the box, and we've had a lot of email traffic commenting on it. So we're very excited.
Brilliant. Well, I think they'll be very excited at your announcement later.
Great, thank you.
Is this the first? Is this an exclusive?
An exclusive. This is what I'm here to talk about, but I thought I'd just sort of quickly introduce myself and sort of what I do, what we do at the BBC and the business unit. I run, as I say, the business and economics unit, which also includes all the technology coverage at the BBC. So if you have ideas or any more publicity for, then send it my way and I'll make sure it gets to the right place. That includes people like Rory Jones, who you may be familiar with, and some of our online technology coverage guys. As you know, we're working very hard at the BBC. It was nice to see some of the figures on that previous slide to move very multi-platform in a lot of our coverage, and that means really serving audiences for television, radio, and online. And sort of lots of figures and stats I can share with you, but I won't bore you with since it is running on slightly late. So maybe I'll just move straight on to what I came to talk to you about, which is this particular project called The Box. This came about earlier this year, right at the beginning of this year, and the deputy head of the BBC, a guy called Mark Byford, Deputy Director General, said, I want a project which we can tell the story of what's happening in the global economy that works really well on all platforms, television, radio and online, that can really engage people and engage them over a period of time as well, because what's happening right now in the global economy is obviously seismic and momentous and very convulsive in many ways. And to tell that story for our audiences, you really need a longer narrative and something which can really sort of show the changes in a dynamic way and be very global as well, because what we're trying to do in BBC News is to really show our global footprint and our audiences for World Service Radio and for BBC World News have been growing hugely. BBC World, I won't throw too many figures at you, but has approximately 80 million viewers a week. BBC World Service Radio in all the languages have 160 million a week, and of course, we're doing very well online as well. Figures there. So anyway, the project, The Box, came about. I just read a book at about this time I was asked to come up with this project called The Box by this great American guy called Mark Levinson, based in New York now, who'd written a book called The Box, which was basically telling the story of the whole evolution of the shipping container, the standard 40-foot shipping container you see sort of on the roads and at sea, and how it was more important in many ways than the microchip in terms of launching globalization and the international economy, how by standardizing shipping it had enabled everything that we've seen over the last sort of 30 years. So I thought it would be a great idea, I never realised quite how much work it would be to brand one of these containers, the BBC Box, bolt on some satellite transmitter and be able to follow a box around the world for a year, track everything that's inside this box, tell the stories of who's making the stuff to go in the container, who's buying the stuff coming out of the container, tell the story of the shipping industry, the guys that work on it, and just basically, make sure it goes to China and it goes to America. We can tell the whole US-China story, comes back to Europe, and just tell this amazing story, because there's fantastic human stories behind internationalization and global trade. And so I got the go-ahead and a bit of cash from the big boss. And now there's, I don't know whether we could sort of click on possibly one link just to just scroll down very slightly a bit further, just look for one of the early ones. Yeah, maybe if we could just have a quick look at that one, that'd be great. Yeah, just you can keep the volume down, just sort of that in the background. We did a deal. Yeah, keep the volume down. That's right. So we did a deal with a shipping company called NYK, who are sort of about the 8th or 9th largest shipping company, and a huge sort of load of negotiations, whereby I wanted this to be a real project. I didn't want to manage this box around the world. I wanted it to carry real things and tell a real story, and sort of ride with the flow and just have a bit of serendipity involved with the project. At the same time, I didn't want it to get stuck in New Jersey for 6 months, because that wouldn't be very interesting for anybody. So we sort of reached an accord whereby we could set the general parameters of the project, but it would be a real story. It would be a working box. We weren't going to pay for it. I was worried about the publicity aspect of all of our audience, which they did, saying, "Why the hell are you, BBC, paying for a box to ship around the world for a year?" So we're not. We paid for this branding, the painting. We put some money into some of the technology and the back-end technology so we could track it, reliably around the world. But as you can imagine, there was all sorts of, these things fall off the ship quite frequently. I mean, they did lose them, and my big fear was, after spending a hell of a lot of BBC money, we'd lose this thing on the first voyage and I'd be out of a job. So I think it's still there.